Hi, my name is Konstantin Baum, I'm a master of wine and it is terroir time. This video is going to be special but also quite challenging because it's very difficult to capture a term like terroir. Only for you, however, I collected all of the relevant information so that I can tell you everything you need to know about terroir. Let's go. The main problem with terroir is that it's not clearly defined and it means different things to different people. It originates from France, from the word terre, which means soil or region, which is already confusing because soil and region are not the same thing. Reading through all the different definitions over the last few days, there are basically two approaches to terroir and one of them is wrong, in my opinion. The first approach is what I would call the naturalist approach, which defines terroir only as the natural environment of any viticultural site. So under the naturalist definition, the topography, the soil, the climate, the landscape, and the biodiversity, including microbes in the soil, make up the terroir. It has become very clear over the thousands of years that we make wine that the smell and the taste of grapes is strongly influenced by their environment, maybe more so than with any other fruit. For naturalists, the soil is often considered to be the most important factor, as the root of the word terroir is terre, which seems to suggest that it only revolves around soil. If you want to learn more about soil and its impact on wine and wine's minerality, then check out my video on the topic of minerality. I'll link it up somewhere up there. Proponents of this definition would say things like, my wine is an expression of the site, as if the wine just makes itself or flows out of a crack in the soil like a miracle wine fountain. I have a problem with this definition as it is misleading in its mythic simplicity. Vineyards are not naturally occurring, they are cultured land managed by people. The way a vineyard is set up, which vines are planted and how the vineyard is farmed throughout the year has a strong impact on the smell and the taste of the grapes. The natural and cultural impact cannot be separated because no one could really say what the expression of a site like Clos Vougeot, for example, would be if naturally occurring vines would grow unmanaged up a tree. Additionally, that wine that is expressing the site and becomes the medium for terroir is even further removed from the site than the grapes that grow on the vine. Wine does not exist in nature, it is made by humans and its flavor and taste are strongly influenced by decisions made in the winery. Acting as if a certain site creates amazing wine without any human input creates further confusion. In the book The Sommelier's Atlas of Taste, the author describes a discussion between soil expert Claude Bourguignon and a New World winemaker, in which Claude Bourguignon tells the winemaker that he has no terroir because he is irrigating his vineyards. But would that not mean that the Medoc, which was and still is drained from excess water through canals, has no terroir as well? Or does this mean that the people who put in the terraces into the Mosel ruin the terroir of those sites forever? I would argue that the naturalist approach has created quite a lot of confusion and resentment around the term terroir because it is leaving out one of the key factors in the expression of a vineyard, the human influence. Which leads me to a maybe less exciting approach to terroir, the culturalist approach. The culturalist definition of terroir includes the previously mentioned soil, the exposition of the vineyard and all the nature around it, but it also includes the human influence. Man, I should be an artist. This includes the viticulture but also the practices in the winery. Often those practices have developed over time and there are different approaches to viticulture and winemaking in different regions or even different villages. It is important to understand that terroir cannot be created in the winery, but it can easily be destroyed in the winery. Take for example perfect grapes from a Grand Cru site in Burgundy, dry them like they do for Amarone, ferment the wine in US oak barrels and then fortify it like they do for port. Does the wine still have terroir? Or if a tree falls in a forest and no one sees it, does it still have terroir? A true expression of terroir is generally created in the vineyard but has to be supported by the winemaking as well. The big difference between the two being that the natural conditions cannot be copied while the know-how in the winery can be applied in other regions as well. This definition is becoming more and more widely accepted. Even the definition of the INAO, the French Institut National de l'Origine, reads as follows: a place where a human community has built a collective know-how related to production. The terroir is based on a system of interactions between the physical and biological environment and a set of human factors. The originality and typicity of the products arises from these factors. makes sense. As these factors or methods have to be developed over time in order to become traditions, it is also maybe one of the reasons why New World winemakers talk far less about terroir than Old World winemakers. As the New World has a shorter winemaking history and generally looser restrictions on winemaking practices, there's often a less clearly defined expression of different sides in the New World. Developing those traditions is just a question of time though, and as I speak, there are more and more new terroirs being analyzed and understood. But now let me show you something. Okay, I'm in the Neuweiler Mauerberg, one of the best vineyards in my hometown Baden-Baden, and this site consistently produces amazing quality. But why is that? Is that because of the perfect exposure of the slope? Is it because of this great soil? Or is it because someone was crazy enough back in the days to put in these amazing terraces here? Or is it because winemakers today really want to focus on quality and lower the yields in order to make really expressive wines? Or is it all of this combined? Think about it. But now back to the cellar. Okay, the human influences on terroir through viticulture and winemaking cannot be looked at separately from the natural influences, so both have to be included in the definition. Winemaking can mask terroir, so a great winemaker shows respect to the natural influences that have shaped the smell and the taste of the grapes and tries to conserve them in the wine. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, then please like it down here. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. My question of the day is an obvious question. What do you think about terroir? Please discuss down here. Let me know what you think. I hope I see you guys again soon. Until then, stay thirsty.